Hello all, my name is Erta the Wanderer, and I've come out of the jungle today to talk with one of our most esteemed generals, the Great Wizard. How's it going, Wizard?
Going well, thank you. How are you?
So far, so good. Despite technical problems, we're pushing forward.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Been doing anything fun for your hobby lately?
Hobby, not so much. Especially with the holidays upon us, things have been getting pretty busy.
Mm.
Uh, that, and I'm still waiting for Starseers to get back into production.
Oh yeah.
Cause
I love that model. Like I know I gush about that model, but I love that model so much.
it is a really pretty one, and it helps a lot when you're running Saurus. But
Oh yeah, yeah. I wish it were better for skink stuff because it's a skink hero, but
mm,
it really shines with Source.
yeah, being able to drop out of the sky with it and a block of 40 and give them like a 96% chance of making their charge is really nice.
Yes. And like +1 to save as a spell or effectively rend as a spell is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the save is nice. It,
Um Yeah, yeah. Like it's all around good. I haven't done anything for Warhammer, but I finally got around to sorting through all the sprues for Star Wars Legion. I
oh
have two
wow.
of the I have two halves of the clones from the Republic release box that I got forever ago, and I finally got around to sorting through them and like setting up how I'm going to build my guys. But that's all the more hobby stuff I've done recently.
Yep. And speaking of hobby, we've got a lot to cover this week or
So
month.
much, yeah.
Yeah, because GW, after being silent on AOS for most of the year, has decided to drop a couple of really big releases.
Yes.
Yep. Um, I know you are probably significantly more excited about this than I am, but Slanesh is getting a mortal half.
Yeah, the part of the army I was waiting for.
Pretty much
Um,
everyone I've talked to about this says they've been waiting a long time for Slanesh Immortals because they really dislike some of the demon sculpts.
so I actually don't mind any of the themes. I freaking love the new fiend models.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then like the new Keeper of Secrets, also beautiful. Um, Sileski is one of my favorite models that Games Workshop has made in recent time. Um, like it just has that Alan Lee 300, like King Xerxes from 300. Like it's got that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so hopefully that carries, and it looks like that kind of vibe is throughout the rest of the new Mortal stuff. Um, yeah, I'm excited. I've always liked or mortals more than demons.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part of chaos that's interesting to me. Like, why would you take this ruinous pact? So when Hedonites got their release and it was only demons, really, they lost mortal units. I was really sad, but
It,
this makes me so happy.
it does make me wonder why this wasn't something that happened back when they got new models last time, but eh?
Yeah, I have no idea. Like maybe they saw how much desire there was because I know Slanesh is like, from what I've heard, it's one of the worst selling demon factions out of Warhammer. And demons already perform like worse than Xenos or Imperium in 40k. They perform worse than a lot of other things in Sigmar as well. Um, in terms of sales. So I don't know. Maybe they were like reticent to do a whole big Slanesh thing. Slanesh is frequently overlooked, but I'm so glad they're doing it now.
Hmm. Yeah, Slanesh doesn't tend to be the go-to faction when you say, what's your favorite Chaos faction? If for no other reason than you don't want to look like a Slaneshi cultist.
I like Hedonites.
Mm. They do have a
Uh,
really nifty Babylonian type look to them.
yeah, yeah, like that. Like the Ionian Wars, like that Persian. Yeah,
Yeah, like the bad half of 400.
yeah, yeah, exactly. They look, yeah, and I love that. Like that era of antiquity, I love. I like the aesthetics of it. Um, and then seeing it like played out even more in the army, like Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm
Hmm.
so excited.
You're getting gladiators, and I'm hearing that there is a very important return to your faction.
Yeah, okay. So I have no idea what the fluff is for him coming back. I'm excited, but Sigvold is back and he is stunning. And he's got demon horns, so I'm assuming he's a
Mm.
demon prince
Yeah,
now.
he is a demon prince. Slanesh brought him back from the dead because he was just too pretty.
That's fair, yeah.
Yep, now that Slanesh is finally free of its imprisonment, or at least free enough to act upon the world, it is bringing back their own named heroes.
Fantastic.
Yep, because the only ones who can keep named heroes is Chaos. But yeah, he's a big boy. Like his base is huge. I think it's equivalent to what the rat guys are. The
Yeah, it looks like 120 maybe?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He's a big boy though.
And he brings a lot of friends with him. These are some really fun models, and a good it's showing that they are actually willing to work on old armies, which most people were really doubtful was going to be a thing.
Yeah. So that makes me happy. It makes me hopeful that Seraphon will whenever we get our second book remake that like maybe we'll see some of the same amount of love that Slanesh is getting in their upgrade.
One can definitely hope because, man, the let's see. Death needs help, but we think that they're getting another army pretty soon, so that should cover a lot of things.
Yes.
There's a lot of speculation, specifically about vampirates, because
Yeah.
that's the rumors going around. We do know
That
something death is on the horizon.
if it's vampirates, then the Lustria form is going to hear a lot of "I told you so" from me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because I've been saying it for like over a year on releases for Rumor Engine. Uh, but
Yep.
I really hope it's vampirates.
It would also do a long way if they can replace things like the old zombie kit.
You
These,
know, the zombie kit I don't mind. What I don't like are blood knights because I don't like paying $20 a blood knight.
well, this is GW we're talking about. There's not much hope that's gonna change.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it'll probably be like $60 for a unit of 5 cavalry versus like 100.
Is it really
Uh,
$100 for five?
yeah, they're literally $20 per model, blood
Uh,
knights at the moment. Yeah, it's
that's
awful. It's
insane.
awful. It makes fire slayers feel like an affordable army,
It makes Daughters of Cain look like an affordable army. Oh, that's not fun.
and they're bad.
Oh, yeah, I had a conversation with one of our forum members about Blood Knights. They're all, hey, how good are these? And I'm all, okay, well let's compare them to some other cavalry like from cities, and see how poorly they stack up. Oh, and these cities units, no one uses them because they're
Yeah,
meh.
yep. But yeah, man, back to Sigvald. I am so excited. Uh, like the sculpt, the pose, uh, it's fantastic. Like as a history junkie, like Sigvald's just always reeked of Alcibiades to me. Like I don't know. I always liked him. I always liked him in the books, like some of the anthologies that I have. I have a Chaos anthology novel, and it's got a bunch of Sigvald stories in them. Like I'm so excited.
Hmm.
Uh,
I'm excited to see how people paint him. He's one of those models that, especially due to being a demon king prince, you can do a lot of creative stuff with him.
oh, for sure.
I'm what can't wait to see the non-standard things people do, like someone trying to make him look bronze.
So this is it might end up being too much. Like I can do it. I just don't know if I can do it and keep my sanity. I want to get him, and then I want to paint his armor like a sky fresco,
Oh wow.
like Clouds for Sistine Chapel type thing. Like do that blue cloud fresco.
Mhm.
like across his armor. Like that's what I want to do with him. We'll see if I actually ever manage to finish it, but those are my plans.
Oh well, if you need help with some of the more fine, tedious detail work, we have a couple of people who do that very well.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, that and GW has been doing something rather interesting this year with their whole Advent rumor calendar.
yeah,
It's like this is always something that was well within their ability to do is just tell us more about what's coming in the future because
hmm
like the rumor engine only really shows us maybe a tenth of things that are yet to come.
yes,
And this time they're just all, hey, look at all the fun stuff. We're unfortunately we're more than a third of the way through and we haven't seen any lizards, which makes me sad on the inside. But
yeah,
eh. And a couple of the Advent things have also been models that we already know about, which is odd. But it's a nifty idea. We've always been wanting more transparency from GW, and it's nice to see that they're not doing that, but at least taking steps in that direction.
yeah. Well, and some of it also like um it feels largely leaning towards Sigmar versus 40k. Like that's really nice to see as a fan of Sigmar.
A good chunk of it, yeah. There are a few that are ambiguous, and there's a lot of Inquisition and Power Armor in there.
Oh,
But
for sure. And like the wolf head pelt thing could easily be 40k or Sigmar. Like
yeah,
there's a decent amount of potential crossover.
yeah,
But like
that's.
normally rumor engine, you're like, oh, there's a rivet, there's a sprocket, there's a power line, there's yeah.
Hmm. But
So yeah, it
we've got two boots. Someone likes boots.
uh-huh, yep. I think the leather boot with the embroidery on it. I'm leaning towards Vampirate for that boot.
Hmm. Yeah, the one with the hand skewered on what looks like some kind of gun wall.
So
As in boats, guys, not as in a
yeah,
wall
yeah.
of guns. Also looks like it's part of the flask that's right below it.
I could see
Yeah,
that. Yep,
and
yep. Because
those.
it's got that same latch.
Hmm. And those are both very deathy looking with the old-fashioned railway spikes everywhere.
Yep. That is sad because when I first saw that beam with the hand on it, my hope, and I know it's a long shot hope, is that Wolfric the Wanderer's coming back.
Oh.
Uh, but I think yeah, it's probably part of Vampires.
Hmm. Oh yeah, no, no. Only Chaos gets their named heroes. Everyone else can deal with it.
If Sigvald and Wolfric are back, I will be playing Chaos Unaligned. Uh, I can tell you that now.
Fair enough. Yeah, a lot of exciting news to coming up. We'll have to wait and see. And best for last, we have a very we have another view of the skink models that are coming out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. For a split second when I first saw them, I was all, oh no, that's amazing. They brought back Tehenawan, but no, it's just someone who looks exactly like him with a different name.
yeah. Uh, I liked it though. Like the the frill, the fin, whatever,
The crest.
crest. I'm not the biggest fan of, but I do still like the model overall. Um, Yeah, and like the feather, the aesthetic, like they nailed that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stick,
It,
I would have rather something different than a thermal detonator in his hand.
ha,
But but yeah, I like the model. I
I've
like how long his tail is.
mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a handsome boy. But there, I've heard two general ideas about the Apple of Eden that he's holding.
Mm,
Some really like the fact that we're bringing more old one tech into things
yes.
because, shoot, what was the last time we had expanded on that? Like the engine of the gods is the most recent one, and that one's almost 20
Mhm.
years old. But it
Oh,
also,
geez. Oh my God, it almost is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, our line is old. But yeah, the idea that
I'm old.
yeah,
Oh,
the idea of a technomancing skink was first hinted at in early uh, Warcry, and some people are
yes.
interested in seeing if this is more of that, whether it's not so much a skink chief or priest, but a technomancer.
Yeah, I could see that. Like just wielding old one tech.
Hmm. It's at least it's an interesting direction to go, as in it's a direction to go, and we haven't had much of anything for a while.
Yeah. Um, I'm kind of hoping, and this is a super long shot, but I would love if like Zotes and lizard people for 40k had like an old one army. Like if 40k gets a new army, that's what I'm hoping for, and I will definitely be stealing stuff from those kits.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's always something they've had the opportunity to pursue. They've had old ones. Old ones are
Oh
still
yeah, yeah.
around in 40k, and they have such a big presence on their background.
Well, and
If
there was
they,
some. Oh, go ahead.
no, yeah, if they have just been biding their time, building forces, and developing an entirely new race to try and fix their
Yeah,
old mistakes, one, that sounds eerily similar to Lizardmen in 40k,
I
which
know,
I
right?
like. And B, yeah,
Well, and
anything.
that's what I was gonna get at as well. I can't remember. It was forever ago. Like this was back in I think fifth edition. But there was a white dwarf that was talking about fan made like building your own armies, and it was Tyranids versus Lizardmen, and they were like an ancient army of the old ones that was still kicking about. Um, and like so white dwarf featured that, and they had like some specialty rules to run it and that kind of thing. So like it's definitely something that's been in the Games Workshop um, sphere. Like someone somewhere certainly aware of it. So that's I still hope. I
Mhm.
still hang on.
Yeah, there was recently one in our short story competition on Lestria. One of the people there was doing Lizardmen in 40k. It's a really fun idea, especially with how the Inquisition specifically would interact with a entirely anti-chaos Xenos force.
Mm,
I
hmm.
it would give several of them heart attacks and others conniptions.
Well, and actual masters of the warp. Like in
Mhm.
40k, it's the old ones that like built the way gates and like first started to use the warp before there were even chaos gods in it.
Mhm.
Um, like back when the warp was clean and pure. Uh,
Back
so
during when it
yeah,
was the
like
Sea
this.
of Souls instead of warped.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because pesky people hadn't come along with their icky emotions.
Yeah, humans, they tend to ruin everything.
Yeah.
But yeah. Ah,
Yeah, there's so many new exciting things.
mm-hmm. For those who are interested, Blood Bowl's getting third edition, changing a bunch of things. It's not my
Yes.
cup of tea, but I know a lot of people who are very excited for it.
Same. Yeah. Um, the clubhouse that I'm in, like whenever something big comes out for Blood Bowl, there's always like a resurgence in Blood Bowl, and there's normally a couple leagues that run for a bit. Um, and the last OFCC I went to, Blood Bowl took up the most floor space. It was insane. Like I was not expecting that. Like it was bigger than 40k, it was bigger than Ninth Age, it was bigger than Sigmar. Like it took up almost a third of the event hall. So Blood Bowl's always been popular.
Hmm. I mean, it's a fun, goofy setting. I like everything about Blood Bowl except the gameplay, which sounds odd. I mean, half of my army is now Blood Bowl miniatures because they just look so cool. But,
Nice.
uh, but yeah, I mainly I hate turnover. The rule turnover. It limits you in so many ways and just frustrates me.
Have never played or
Ah,
watched a game of Blood Bowl played
that's
because I have zero interest in sports at all. And so I just was never interested in playing a sports game inside of a fantasy game. Like I think it's cool. Like I love seeing the models. Like I love the Halfling Blood Bowl team.
mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Uh
It
I yeah.
it just seems like GW allows their artists to be more creative with the stuff they make in Blood Bowl.
Yeah, yeah, no, they're beautiful. Like I would have Blood Bowl models. I just have never been like super interested in the game.
Hmm. But yeah, it's there for those who are interested in. We're sorry we aren't the right people to talk about it.
I am excited for the Underworld expansion, Dire Chasm.
Hmm.
Like having a Slaves to Darkness team, that makes me very happy. Getting a new model to substitute as a Chaos Sorcerer Lord instead of having four of the exact same sculpt, that makes me happy.
Hmm.
Um,
And you know why I'm excited for that? Same thing, different army.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Uh, and like I'm happy for the Seraphon team as well. Like Dire Chasm looks very promising.
Hmm. I'm interested in reading the lore on it. Anything that features the people I care about, because I the armies I pick, GW just does not like writing about at all. Like, there's so very little cities content or Seraphon content. At least now we have some Daughters of Cain content.
Well, so at least for like some of their novels and books, there's a decent amount of cities stuff.
Cities
But
as
in terms,
background, not cities as characters.
yeah, exactly, yep. It's always just the setting and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And there were a couple, like there was the Hammerhall um, book series that had like a dude with pistols and stuff. Like
Hmm.
it's there. It's just not nearly. It's Stormcast. Like
Yeah.
most of the books are Stormcast.
Yeah. And, yeah, I think of Stormcast as I think of Marines. They're impressive, they're fun in limited doses, but they're probably the most boring part of their faction.
That's fair. Yeah. I for spoilers for a book, I do love when what's his name? Lord Celestant starts with a G. Gravius, whatever, steps out of the portal and is like, only the faithful, the head of the Hallowed Knights. Like that moment, that was
Hmm.
great. Um,
Yeah. GW has
like,
talented people. They can make anything shine.
yeah.
It's just not something I
Uh,
pursue.
I hated Stormcast Eternals until I read some of their books, and then it
Mm.
actually made me like Stormcast Eternals. So good job, Josh Reynolds. Like that was impressive. You took me from uh, hating something to being indifferent, and then eventually liking.
Mm. Maybe
Uh,
he can take my apathy and turn it into a grudging appreciation. I don't know.
Yeah, could if Josh Reynolds somehow listens to us, write a Seraphon book, please.
That, yeah. I mean, anyone write a Seraphon book. I'm not picky at this point. Just don't make them the good guys punching bags again. I don't know why you did that.
You know, I would also be happy if it was like a Chaos book and their main antagonist was Seraphon. That would also
I'd
make
be
me happy.
all for that too, even if we lost. Like, some of the earliest books I ever read were things like the Redwall series, where it
Oh
showed,
yeah.
where Brian Jock does a great job
Hmm.
of writing both sides of the story,
Hmm.
where half the chapters are told from the main character's perspective and half are told from the villain's perspective. And I think that that's a great way if 40k Age of Sigmar started doing that, where it's essentially a meeting of minds of two sides, and
That would be fantastic.
yeah, and the people who play whichever army gets to decide who's the good guys and who's the bad guys.
I nope, it just left me. I don't remember what I was gonna say.
Oh well.
I looked at my screen and I saw a pretty Slanesh model and I forgot everything.
I think that covers most of the news, besides gushing more about GW doing their job.
Yeah, and like it I was really worried because of 2020. I was like, how much just like got scrapped and we don't get. Like
Right.
I was expecting Sons of Behemoth to basically just be it. Um, so I'm super excited to see this much new stuff still
Yeah.
come out.
Especially with
Um,
new 40k taking up like
oh yeah,
eight
ninth,
eight
yeah,
months,
uh huh,
like
yeah.
where we got nothing.
Yeah,
Absolutely nothing. Like they postponed half of the elves release just so more 40k, and
yeah.
I don't mind 40k. I like the lore and like the stories, but come on, I don't play it. Give me something to work with.
Uh, I still have a hard time connecting with 40k lore, like as prone as I am to tangents.
Hmm.
There's I don't know. There's something about sci-fi that isn't as inviting as fantasy is to me.
I would agree, almost wholeheartedly. 40k is one of two sci-fi settings that's broken through my veneer of fantasy only.
Hmm. I like sci-fi novels. Like some of my favorite novels were always sci-fi growing up. Like Orson Scott Card
Oh,
and
good writer,
Asimov and like
better writer.
yeah, like I like sci-fi. The Leviathan Wakes, the two authors, I can't remember their name.
Hmm.
But they're writing the Expanse series. Like I remember when that first book came out, like 6.5 years ago now. Man, I keep feeling older and older. I'm not used to like being into my third decade. Um, but yeah, like I read those first two books. They're fantastic. Like I like sci-fi. I just don't like space opera.
I think that the main reason why is that sci-fi takes a lot more work to make work than fantasy does.
Hmm.
You have to
Yeah, the
get
suspension of
everything
disbelief.
is much higher, and
Yep.
a lot of sci-fi writers, builders, storytellers, and game makers get very, very lazy with their sci-fi.
Well, yeah, and like more tangent. Like if space battles, like you're not gonna see the enemy's ship. Like you've got long range scanners. You're gonna fire a weapon that's going to kill them before it shows up on their scanners. Like that's not very engaging, and so
Depends how you
everything
tell it.
feels like that's true. That's
On
true. But
if you want to try a really good long-range ship battle thing, try the Honor Harrington first book.
I'll have to check it out.
Really good. Not sure about anything else. I got bored after the first book, but the first one was awesome.
But yeah, away from our many tangents.
Yep.
Uh, Fantasy's better than sci-fi.
Yeah, fair enough. We are
Okay.
both in agreement on that. Well, one of our longtime fans and general well-known name on Lustria has asked us to discuss specifically his favorite unit type in our Seraphon army and how one
Yeah.
would make it work. We've got the almighty Carnasuar, our the closest thing we have to a
Oh, I thought it was
centerpiece.
Dreadsorian. Is it
Ah, yeah. Hmm?
you said Carnosaur, is it Dreadsorian or Carnosaur?
Carnasuars. This is lizard we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I was thinking Dreadsorian. I was all emotionally prepped for Dreadsorians.
Oh, sorry. That was my
Oh, no
bad.
worries.
But yeah, the closest thing we have to a centerpiece in our army, and a model that I was first very harsh to in our book, but has grown on me since.
In terms of like the rules, or did you not like the aesthetics of them?
Rules. I've always liked. They're T Rexes. Who doesn't like the
Yeah, I know,
aesthetic?
right?
It's a dinosaur using magic tech, riding a different dinosaur.
Yeah, I like Carnosaurs, but I am definitely more partial to the Scar Veteran Carnosaur.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You're not the
in,
only
in
one.
terms in terms of a unit. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're just a better platform to give an artifact. And I feel like if you're taking a Carnosaur and you're not putting an artifact on it, you shouldn't be taking a Carnosaur. Like I'd rather just take a non-Carnosaur version of the same support hero. In those cases.
Fair enough. But like, is there a reason you like the Scar Veteran over? Considering they're now the same points, there's very little reason to beyond the command ability.
The Old Blood's 210 now.
Yep, they
When did
dropped it
this happen?
during the General's Handbook. They dropped him.
No. The Scar Veteran went down to 210. The Old Blood is still like 230, right?
Well, yeah,
I gotta check now.
I've got
I, I
it.
thought there was like a new update.
Hmm. War Scroll Builder. Here you are. Oh, he went down to 230 and 210.
and then 210. Yeah. So 210 is part of why I like the Scar Veteran.
Mm-hmm.
If you compare it to other good models in the 210 range, like the new Slaves to Darkness Demon Prince, um, he feels right. Um, I would like more Rend, but he's a good beat stick. Uh, I feel like the major weakness of the model is the 4+ save.
Yes, that's
Um,
always been the problem with Carnosaurs, and
yeah, but
what
yeah,
really killed it for me early on. But that being said, they are really cheap monsters. Despite being slower than a lot of other monsters and not having the ability to fly, I think that comes down to the fact that they're cheap.
yeah, they are 210.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they move 10 inches. They've got a nice big base if you want to do base shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Bravery's
it's
not terribly useful, but their bravery shenanigans mixed with other bravery shenanigans our army gives us options with makes
oh yeah, between like the Star Drake icons and um, their terror. I wish they had kept Savage Roar, where like when something runs, make D3 more run, because that was really good against like
uh, yeah,
Gorgruntas
elite
and
stuff.
ogres, and
I
pretty
would have,
much it was good against destruction.
which you don't really need anything to be good against destruction.
It's true, yeah.
Mainly, I think that I rewrote it back when we were doing the whole exercise of rewriting our books in order to
Mhm,
bypass battle shock immunity,
mhm.
which I think would have been an amazing ability for them and
Oh yeah.
far more useful nowadays, considering everything's battle shock immune.
Well, yeah. Imagine like playing against Osaric Bone Reapers, and now they have to kill your Carnosaur, or they're
Yeah,
gonna battle shock.
and it would
Uh,
actually make our army's battle shock tactics work. You could make a whole army about fear tactics that way. It
yeah,
would
that'd be
give
cool.
troglodytes a useful position in armies,
Hmm.
but
Um,
that's not so much talking about what could be, but what is. How specifically would you design a list if your main reason for running a list was Carnosaurs are awesome?
well, I think there's a balance to be struck between just wanting to put as many Carnosaurs in the list or being more focused on like buffing up a single Carnosaur.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm more interested in making a Carnosaur really good than like here's my old blood and 3 Scar veterans and they're all on Carnosaurs. Like I think that's fine.
I mean,
Like I
if you want
wrote,
to, you can run 6 or 7 of them
yeah. And I think you definitely go maybe Thunder Lizards if you're going that direction. Um,
just for
but
the
yeah, like
+2 wounds.
yep, exactly. Um, it's a fairly significant throughput. Um, yeah, you're looking at like a 15-ish% increase to health. I'll take it. Especially if you're wanting to really stack Carnosaurs, like that's a substantial durability increase to your entire army.
Right. If you're running Mass Carnosaur, run Thunder Lizard.
Hmm.
If
Yeah, for sure.
you're already playing a for fun list, so go all the way.
Yep.
Hmm. But yeah.
But yeah, buffing up a single Carnosaur is also pretty viable. Like you can um, focus on always taking the Celestial Drake for your
+1 to all attacks.
alignment. Yep, exactly. And also Thunder Lizards for that is great between like the command trait and everything else. You could then put that in the Starborn or the Temple Host for Saurus in order to get his buffs on the Old Blood. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, like there's
having rend 2 or subsequently 3 weapons on him would be kind of scary.
yeah. And then like the Eviscerating Blade or the Blade of Realities, like both of those are pretty solid artifacts to throw on them.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
Blade of Realities is ours, isn't it?
yeah, Blade of Realities.
I
Mhm.
was thinking of the Mortal Realms artifact that is no longer
Oh,
with
the
us.
Runic Blade.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Rend 3.
we
Uh,
miss you dearly.
I miss putting that on a Chaos Lord on Kakadrak for his axe. 5 attacks, threes and threes, win 3, 2 damage. That was good fun.
I just miss seeing 3 3 3 3 3 and the attack stat.
Yeah, I can respect that. Um, but I think you're pretty much always going Coatl's Claw or you're going Thunder Lizards. Um, you could make Starborn Carnosaurs work, like if you're wanting to just charge in Carnosaurs alternating,
Hmm.
like doing some Dracothian's Tail, bringing Cogs. Like you could have fun missling in some Carnosaurs, especially against enemy hordes. Like if you can attack from either end of the hordes and really reduce pile in.
Hmm.
Um,
I keep forgetting that Carnosaurs are better against horde models now,
yep,
which seems backwards, but yeah, at least they have a role, and I think they actually make better horde clearers than Stegodons do.
yes, yes, I agree. Um, like Stegodons, they're not bad combat attacks.
Yeah,
Um,
they're good in melee,
yeah,
somewhat, but their main horde clearing is a shooting attack, which happens after before the charge phase. So you have to
yes.
survive in combat until next turn, and they don't do that.
Mhm.
Then they're
Yeah,
more
and they're
expensive.
like the bonus they get for their angling their head is completely defeated by the thing that they want to be fighting anyway. So,
Hmm.
um,
They're also
yeah,
slower, which really hurts a monster, and they're more expensive, which really hurts a monster, and
yeah.
they're actually easier to kill. Poor Stegodons.
But I think if you want to make the most of Carnosaurs, um, I think you want skink screens for sure.
Hmm.
Like a couple 10-man units of skink screens.
I mean,
I
they're
also
60
rather,
points. You might as well.
yeah, I also really like Ripperdactyls with
Really?
Coalesced. Um, One, they're okay at fighting. Like they're not fantastic, but in Coalesced,
Are you
they're
sure
worth.
they average 2 damage?
Yeah, but I feel like they're worth their points in Coalesced because they move 14 inches and have fly.
Okay, then why wouldn't you just bring Pterodons? They cost the same and are better.
Yeah, but Pterodons have a 6+ save instead of a 5+. Um, and uh, they don't benefit as much from like the Coalesced Ripperdactyl.
Mm,
Um,
okay. I'm.
and pterodons I think are 10 points more than ripperdactyls. Like they're both fine. I like both of them um, in coalesced. Like the shooting attack from the bolas is decent shooting for an army that otherwise won't have a whole lot of shooting. But mostly you're looking for something that's high mobility, has fly. Like if you're playing a Saurus army, um, you don't have a lot of options to get onto objectives. And having something that can fly and has good movement is a
Mhm.
great way to continue to provide pressure outside of where you're fighting. Um,
Yeah, either that or chameleons.
yeah, or chameleons. Chameleons are fantastic. Um,
To be
chameleon
fair,
skinks are my
I would
favorite
take
unit.
chameleons over rippers. They just tend to do more work.
Yeah, I can get that, but they're also less likely. Maybe if you're taking 5-man units.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean,
but yeah, they
I don't know why you take more. They're not there for damage. They're there for stealing objectives and bunkering down with 3-up
yeah,
saves.
outside of Fenga's Zotac, yeah, I think 5-man units are the way to go. But yeah, I like Ripperdactyls for Coalesced.
So
Um,
you want your screens to make sure your big squishy monster doesn't get charged, and you want something fast to do what it can't.
yeah. But in terms of like just building punchy Carnosaurs, I definitely like Coalesced significantly more than Starboard.
Hmm. Yeah, that's one of the things. I. It's probably one of the reasons why I was so initially harsh to them. I don't like Coalesced. I think that it's a massive disappointment of a primary faction, and the way to play these units that people like is in the worst faction.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah, the
which
the
is too bad.
the anti rules that Coalesced have make me angry, and it's ridiculous how poorly written they were.
Yeah, it really is too bad. Um, yeah.
But yeah, so if you're playing big dinos, you want to play. You want their main two strats are Thunder Lizard, lots of them, or Koala Claws, one really big nasty one.
Yeah, and I think if I'm doing the Kodo's Claw, I'm real tempted to like night spam.
Hmm.
Um, like run Fire Lance, run a bunch of Saurus Knights, like multiple 10-man units. Um, because you're gonna like your ability to trap opponents with that is better than you're gonna think it is.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean, a lot of people think that knights are awesome because they are. If they're
mhm.
like everything in our army, they're a very high skill floor.
Yes.
Our army is so not easy to play.
I'd rather it be that way than like mindless though, if I'm being honest.
Agreed. It's just hard for new players,
Mhm.
and we've got a lot of new players. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, but
Uh,
I think they also have a place in Starborn armies, especially when primarily ranged ones, because it's always good to be able to threaten people who are going after your ranged units.
oh yeah.
I've seen in a lot of my research, I have not seen a single foot mounted foot Saurus, not one. I've only seen them on Carnasuars, and every time, and most of them in Starborn lists.
I when I want an old blood or a scar veteran, I take a scar veteran on cold one or an old blood on foot. Like pretty
They're,
much always
they're
for my list.
definitely more defensive. They tend to do
Like
a lot better. The main thing, if, like,
I
Skinks,
just want lookout sir. Like in this
true.
current meta, I want lookout sir. That's what it comes down to. If
Yeah.
I'm taking a hero to support, I want that hero to be alive to support. And if that's going to happen, he needs lookout sir.
And a 3-up save.
Exactly.
And a
Exactly.
smaller base. Yep.
Yeah.
But despite, yes, I do think the on foot one is better. I
Mhm.
just think that Carnosaurs can work even in lists where they aren't built around them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, they are, it's the same reason I take Croxagore. They're generally unassuming, they're cheap as
Mhm.
heck, and
Mhm.
if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back very, very hard.
Yeah, yeah.
And as much as I like Croxagore, I think that if you have the points, Carnosaurs do it better. And, or if you have to sacrifice something, make them all go after the Carnosaur. Especially if you play with the same people and you play with people who can set up a grudge.
Okay, that's fair. I can respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like not ideal circumstances, but
cause what? Croxigar are 160 now, right?
yep.
Did they get cheaper? Okay, yeah, they're 160. Oh no, they're 140. They did get
Oh,
cheaper.
they did. Oh,
Yeah, I
nice.
forgot that they ended up getting cheaper. Croxigar 140, and a Scar Veteran, Carnosaur is 210.
Mm-hmm.
If Croxigar have the skink buff, I think I like Croxigar more.
Yeah, the skink buff's hard though. Uh,
Yeah, but I play Fangs of Sotek, so
uh,
it's always there for me. Um,
that's fair.
so I'm never thinking about it that way. Like it's assumed that I have it most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're pretty close. Um, like they
May-
both come in
yeah,
at
I
same
obviously
wound
prefer
bracket.
Croxagore because I'm biased and I think that, and it's better to fit something cheap in. But the
Yeah,
additional movement and and the bigger base size for when you're blocking, I think Carnosaurs can work outside of their established niche if you really want them to.
it's true. I feel like the main difference though is that once a Carnosaur has taken um, 3 wounds,
Yeah.
they hurt a lot more than if Croxigar have taken 3 wounds.
Yeah.
Then if a
That's.
Carnosaur's taken 5 wounds, they're hurt way more than if unit of Croxigar's taken 5 wounds.
Mm.
Um, so I think that's the main downside between them.
That's always been the
Um,
downside to monsters because GW doesn't know how to write monsters.
yeah, which is too bad. But yeah, in terms of making a Carnosaur list, um, and I'm sorry, I thought we were doing Dread Saurian. Like I legitimately thought we were doing Dread Saurian. I was all ready for Dread Saurian.
Sorry.
Um, I feel like you have to bring a Slan, like Slan or Croak.
I mean, that's
You
true of all our lists regardless. We're too CP heavy not to.
exactly, yeah. You just need the CP. Um, and
Which
it
is
like
why I really hope they don't hit us as hard as everyone wants us to, despite the fact that we're not doing that well, people. We're good, but we aren't
yeah,
broken. Shut up. You don't know how to play the game.
yeah, yeah. One so this is going to be and maybe this is wrong, but this is my assumption. If you've been playing Seraphon since the old book and you were doing decently well with that book and you now have the new Seraphon book, you're a nightmare to play against.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's just the way it is. You
But
know what you're
that's
doing.
that's true of anyone
Now
who
you've
has a
got a
good
book that's capable.
yeah, anyone who has a
uh
good grasp of the fundamentals of this game can be terrifying to play against.
yep. So I think that's like it's kind of got that hidden factor. Like when the new book first came out and I was playing games up at the clubhouse, and I was helping people practice specifically for tournaments. Um, like it was constant complaining about how crazy broken my book was, and I was like, okay, well I'll play you with Slaves to Darkness and do the same thing. Like it's, we're a good book. We're better than Slaves to Darkness.
Oh yeah. We are
We're
as far as meta goes, we're sitting at I believe 4th or 5th.
yeah. I don't feel like we're at KO or Zinch level. I still think those are better books. Even if
While that
like
may
the
be
meta shifts
true,
around.
it turns out we actually soft lock Zinch.
Oh yeah, yeah, to an
Yeah.
extent.
Like
Um,
almost completely because we're so anti-magic, and
yes.
everyone's all they're so magically powerful, and we're not. We're
No, we're
anti-magically
anti-magic.
powerful.
Yes. Although bound Giminids, like they honestly could have called Seraphon Allegiance bound Giminids.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it's fantastic. Um,
I mean, I used to take Geminids without it being bound. It was that good of a spell.
oh yeah, yeah.
And now it's even better. It was like
Yep.
it's one of the few options anyone considered from endless spells. The other being spell portal.
Oh yeah, no, like at tournament, I used to see Geminids all the time. Like out of, excuse me, 2-day events, 5 to 6 games. Um, one, if not two of the armies I played against would always have bound Geminids. And this was like back before the magic heavy meta. Um, like bound Geminids is good. Regular Geminids was fantastic, and bound Geminids is like army defining.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think I want Croak if I'm taking Carnosaurs, because I want command points. The Carnosaurs are cool, but the Carnosaurs aren't enough to do it on their own. You have to get use out of their command abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
so
their command abilities are good.
yeah, yeah. Um, so if I'm looking at a list, it's probably going to be something like a Sars Old Blood on Carnosaur that I'm making the general and putting in Thunder Lizards. Gets Prime War Beast, gets Blade of Realities, because 2 rend, 4 damage spear.
That's insane. Uh,
Yeah, it's not bad. I'll take it because now you can like give it the Drake pack icon and like you're yeah,
yeah.
it
I know it's not the best thing ever, but that's just such a ridiculous stat line. It's just so cool.
yeah, it's solid. And I'm gonna put it inside of the Temple Host um Sunclaw Temple Host Battalion.
To
So
put
I'm looking at for the old blood.
to put Rend
Carnosaur.
on the Carnosaur's jaws.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Uh
is something I didn't consider.
yeah, to
Because
put Rend on the Carnosaur's jaws. And then I'm taking a unit of 40 SARs with spears, 2 units of 20 SARs with clubs. Um, and two Skink Star Priest. This is to like make sure you can keep your warriors buffed up. I'm taking Croak. I'm torn between taking. Um, so I'll read out the whole list that I currently have, and it's sitting with 60 extra points. There's a couple of things I'm considering, but it's a Sars Old Blood on Carnasuar, Prime War Beast, Blade of Realities. He's part of the battalion. A Sars Scar Veteran on Carnasuar. Now you've got second Carnasuar. And I'll probably give him the Fusel of Conflagration because why not?
Hmm.
Um, two Skink Star Priest, Lord Croak, 40 Sars Warrior Spears, 2 units of 20 Sars Warriors Clubs, 2 units of 10 Skinks. And with the battalion, this puts you at 1940. So there's a couple ways you can go. You could take Belwyn Vortex to increase the range for Croak and to give him a 3 plus save, put him in cover 2 plus save. Goes a long way to keeping him alive against KO and Zinch and other good shooting armies. Uh, you've also got enough points to take more screens or to bring an extra command point.
Yeah,
Um,
60 points is just another 10 skinks if you need it. Command point if you are really worried about that first turn.
yep, and possibly Belwyn Vortex if you want Belwyn Vortex or Bound Purple Sun. Um,
Both are good.
but yeah, I feel like you want two Star Priest. Like you could definitely drop it because you've really only got the Saurus Warriors that you're planning on buffing. Um,
Uh,
but you want to the main issue with Saurus is we're not durable enough to survive being hit by killy armies
this
in
is true of
combat.
everything in our thing.
Uh-huh. And we're not an army that does good only fighting one thing a turn. So you're going to be sending in multiple units into combat in the same turn. Like your Carnasuars are going in with your warriors. And you want to disincentivize, you want to create incentives for your opponent to have to choose to attack the units you want them to choose to attack on their turn um, for activation. And I feel like Star Priest help with that equation. Like having a Carnosaur and a block of Saurus with Star Venom on them um, means you can kind of have a good idea which one they're going to have to choose to attack. Or you can make them have to make some hard decisions.
Hmm.
So I like the Star Priest. I think you can get away with just one Star Priest, then you could bring a bunch more other stuff if you wanted to. Um,
To be fair, I like redundancy, especially
yep,
my cheap support heroes.
yeah. And I would rather a Star Priest than taking Belwyn Vortex and an Ashlyth Bearer because you have the points to do that. You could drop a Star Priest, take an Ashlyth Bearer, take a Belwyn Vortex, and you've got like your standard little Croak Nest, but without the ablative Sars guard wounds.
Mm,
Um, but I'd rather the Star Priest because I'm probably only casting Celestial Deliverance through a Skink Vassal anyways.
mm.
Um, so the Star Priest acts as both of those things in my mind. Um,
Yep. I mean,
and
both
you're
both
taking
are a reasonable way of doing it.
uh-huh,
Croak is
yep,
scary for a reason.
yeah, yeah. Uh, and I mean you can if you wanted to go like tanky Saurus, um, I think you drop
Slan and
Croak and you
Starseer.
take a Starseer. Yep.
Yeah, because with those
Slan
points
and
you could.
Starseer.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yep.
because
Um,
heck, giving a 3-up save on your Carnosaur is not bad, and everyone likes 3d6 charges.
exactly. Yeah. Um, and like that inside of Coalesced, where you're reducing damage taken by multi-damage weapons by one. Um, like it ends up being a decently tanky unit. But this army really comes down to trying to control um, access to the face of units. Like you're going to have to control your surface area really well. You're going to have to minimize the available surface area on your Carnosaur with Pyolins. Um, like you don't want to send a Carnosaur off by itself. Um,
No, not unless you're trying to lure people away.
yes, and it's something that I think it's overlooked a lot because It's just overlooked a lot. A lot of times, if you have two behemoths, sending both of them in directly beside each other will help you a lot with enemy pile-in. Because generally speaking, you will reduce the amount of frontage that the enemy can pile into either of them by almost half. Um, if you face them correctly, so you kind of make a V, you've denied almost two full sides for the enemy to pile in if you're the one who's charged
Hmm.
because they've only got 3 inches. So the amount that they can envelop you is basically cut in half, and it makes it much more likely for the other one who's attacking to be at a higher bracket when he gets to swing.
And this
Um,
is really important because, well,
yes,
bracketing's a thing, and
and
enveloping is even more of a
this is
thing.
true of oval bases specifically as well. Like if you have two behemoths on oval bases, and like I get weird looks whenever I do it, because they're like, "What? You're sending two behemoths into the same horde?" Like it feels counterintuitive. But yeah, you reduce the available surface area for your opponent to pile into you by 50%.
Yeah, the
Um,
exception is if you're hitting a corner.
Correct. Yeah, if you can like, or if you can pin from opposite sides to reduce pile in.
If you can
The
manage that, that's the best feeling ever.
Yes, the other thing you can do is if you get a big enough charge roll, like if you send Carnosaur and like your 20-man units of Saurus, you can self-envelop your Carnosaur when you charge with your 20-man Saurus unit
Hmm.
by stringing around behind your butt and having Saurus then on either side. Like that's another great way to reduce pile-in.
That's what I do with
Um,
Croxagore and Skinks.
yep, yep. Uh, so that's like one of the minutiaes of play tactics, like even more so than like correct activation order and that kind of a thing. Be really mindful about your the amount of base that you're presenting to your opponent.
Hmm.
You want to do everything you can to reduce the amount of surface area that they get to pile into.
When you get TTS set up, we need to do an in-depth positioning video showing off specifically what we mean by all this.
Oh, that's a great idea. I would
Hmm.
love to do that.
Like go into
Um,
the in-depth things of honeycombing frontage, general denial of space, terrain tactics, and so on. There's a
yeah.
lot of stuff that we can tell you guys about, but work better when showing, and we're working on that. Give us time.
Uh, but yeah, I think this is probably how I would try to optimize my Carnosaurs. Um, I like two-star priest. I like redundancy. I actually like the skink spells a lot for Saurus, specifically taking Celestial Harmony twice,
Hmm.
so that you have two heroes that have the ability to negate battle shock. Because like Saurus warriors get hit by battle shock pretty hard. Um,
Yeah, especially when they're in coalesced, because coalesced is terrible
exactly,
for bravery.
exactly.
Harkening back
Um,
to my problems with it. Arg.
but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is like low tournament quality, but I feel like if I'm writing a list that's a Carnosaur list, it's got to have more than one Carnosaur. Otherwise, it's a list with a Carnosaur. um,
Hmm.
but yeah, that's probably how I would try and run them. I definitely think Thunder Lizards is the way to go for the extra wounds, um, and for the Prime War Beast. Like it's a really good command trait
Yeah,
for
Prime Warbeast
Carnosaur.
is a lot of fun.
Yep. So yeah, Prime War Beast with the Sunclaw Battalion, so you've got two Rend Carnosaur draws. Like it makes for a pretty, and then Blade of Reality, so you've got a two-wind spear like against heroes. Like this guy will blow up a Terrorgeist. Um,
Yeah, now that they don't get to strike you first.
exactly, yeah. There's a against other like beat stick heroes. That's a pretty beat stick Carnosaur, all things considered.
Hmm. Yeah, I like his chances against most mounted heroes, as long as it's not
Yeah.
a Maw Crusher, but that makes sense. It costs twice as much.
Well, yeah, and it's most. Although, man, that 3+ save's not nearly as scary when you've got Rin 2 on your spear and your jaws.
Yeah, but remember, they take the artifact that reduces rend.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Um, like you're looking at a 4-up save now though, instead of it still being a 3-up save.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, getting half my stuff to stick. feels a lot better than getting a third.
Mm. And if you get lucky, you can just ruin a poor orc player's day.
Yes. I've had a number of games against people that bring maw crushes to events where like they just have bad luck and they miss their saves, and it feels awful to like watch that larger percentage of their army just like be taken off the table. Like only 6 dice were skewed out of the like 160 plus dice that they rolled over the course of those 2 turns, but those 6 dice changed the game.
Mm. I've
Like that always
honestly,
feels bad.
yeah, I've had the opposite happen where I went in with, I believe, uh, yeah, it was 12 demogryphs into a Maw Crusher and did 0 damage.
Mm, that hurts.
Yeah, like rend and everything. It was like 50 attacks, rend 2 attacks, and nothing.
Oof. I watched 9 Gore Gruntas and a Maw Crusher fail to kill a single Lumineth Warden Spearboy. Like they completely bounced off of them. Like it
Oh
was the
no.
like impenetrable spear wall build, like where you have all the overlapping buffs and like the negatives to attack and like all that stuff. Like they had everything going for them. And they had the battalion, like literally everything going for them. They had the eighth reserves, all that. But they just completely bounced off. Like I think they killed one out of the unit of 20, and then they lost all 9 Gore Gruntas. Uh,
Yeah. Hy-
yeah, it was sad.
Hyper Anvil is real, kids. Be careful. Be careful what you charge.
Yeah, I think Carnosaurs are viable. I don't know that I would build a list to take to a tournament with the hopes of winning that tournament with them. They're not what I would look to, but I wouldn't see someone show up with Carnosaurs and think you're playing the game wrong
Right.
either.
Especially because they're fun. And as said
Oh
before,
yeah,
they're the only thing we have that even resembles a centerpiece.
yes. I painted up Carnosaur to up my painting scores at events, and it's just something that I summon but never actually summon.
There are so
Um,
many cool paint jobs.
because they're a cool model.
Yeah, there are
uh,
so many cool paint jobs I've seen. Like people making them look like Rathians from uh, Monster Hunter, or
oh
others
yeah,
that
yeah,
like there's one on Lustria, one that's a like black and orange Gila monster.
yes,
There's so much potential with these guys, especially for hobbying, and they're so much fun to build. I just wish they were kind of better. They, if for something that's supposed to be one of our main choices, they really need to be one of the best things in the book.
yeah. So if I'm being honest, everything that that old blood is built into, like the fact that you had to take a battalion, you had to take a relic, you had to take a specific sub faction to take a command trait. That's what a Carnosaur should be. Like
Just
you
at
shouldn't have
base.
to take all those things to make it that what it is. Like that should just be a Carnosaur.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Sure, make it cost 300 points, but make it worth 300 points and make it hit like a truck.
and like give it a 3+ save. At least the Scar veteran, he's got a freaking shield.
Yeah,
um,
make them both cost the same. Make the Scar Veteran the tankier one and the Old Blood the killier one, just like it used to be. Although, don't change the Carnosaur's ability to kill, because why?
so if we're talking like wish list, like if we're gonna go on a tangent, what I actually want is for Carnosaurs to be as good as they are now, but as they take damage, the Carnosaur gets better.
Oh, okay. So, kind of like
Like
corn units?
yeah, like maybe have their movement go down, like have their movement tier down, but have like their jaw damage and stuff tier up. Um,
I could see that. That'd be kind of nifty.
yeah,
They haven't been
like
doing much with the profiling table ever since Gits came out.
yeah, which is too bad. But yeah, like I would love to see that on a Carnosaur. That would make me happy.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Lizard. We did our best.
Yeah, sorry, I prepared for the wrong thing. Mea culpa.
Yeah. Oops. But I think that covers most of the stuff. And at least for now, and hopefully new things in the future when your computer isn't broken and I'm not quite so busy. We won't have a
Yeah,
month in between episodes.
yeah, and like working retail this time of year as well, like
Uh,
especially in retail management, like 60 hours is like the norm a
mm-hmm.
week. So just like finding time's been rough for me. But I'm glad we were able to make it work,
Mm-hmm.
even
Alrighty.
if we were 2 weeks late to new releases.
So be it. We had more to talk about this way. If we'd come out right as it first came out, we'd keep mentioning things instead of being able to go over it all at once.
It would have just been a tangent episode, nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. But if that's all we've got to cover for today, the jungle's calling me home. Thank you very much for speaking with me today, Wizard.
Yeah, thank you.
You all have a good evening.